Hello and welcome. In this video, we'll be finishing up swatching the final Aquatone watercolors. I'll also be telling you the importance of swatching on paper that you're going to be painting on and give you very good examples of why that's important. And I will get to share with you how I keep track of all of my watercolors on the computer and in their swatching form. The last thing we have to do to finish up this whole Aquatone series are the neutrals, browns, grays, blacks, however you want to call that. That's what we have left. So all of these were already done in previous videos, whether that ended up being in the grays video or the granulating video. These two were in the granulating for sure. So really, all we have left to do today are these 7 here, but let me just refresh your memory and show you the swatches of these ones already, except the French Ultramarine, because you saw that in the blues video. So ones we won't be doing today are these. We have this beautiful neutral tint, Payne's Gray, which I feel leans to the purple side. It's very pretty though. Cool Gray, another very opaque one that I like. Warm Gray. Buff Titanium. Titanium White. Shadow Gray. Cosmic Gray. This beautiful granulating oxide black. The cat just knocked the camera. And then the brown oxide, which did not re-wet very well, and that was as strong as I could get it in the dried form, so I also swatched it fresh from the tube. Although I have reactivated it, I poured a little bit in one of the lids of these white palettes from the tube, let it dry out, and I did reactivate that one successfully. It's in one of these little white palettes. And I think that this one just had too much binder or something, so I haven't dared test it yet, but I'm thinking if I pour fresh paint from the tube again, that this one might work, but we'll test it with a smaller pan later. Anyway, those are the neutrals / grays that we've already seen. Definitely check out the Aquatone playlist, which I'll link in the corner for you if you'd like to see these swatched in real time. For today, like I mentioned, we have these 7 that I don't think we've seen yet, or you haven't seen them yet. I have painted with this one. This is Shadow Brown. It's quite nice. And the Burnt Sienna. Anyway, let's just get these going, shall we? We're going to start right in with the swatching. You can see here, this is Carbon Black. It's a PBK7 Light Fast 5 out of 5. It's opaque, staining, and non-granulating. And it can go on really dark if you let it. But you can see here, it also dilutes out to a really nice gray. It's a probably good representation of a PBK7. I very much like this color. I do think using it might dull out some of your areas in painting if you were to use it all on its own. However, it can get so deep and dark. I don't know, if you want a black hole void, this is a great one to use for that. This one here is Shadow Brown. This color is astounding. This is one of the standout colors that Aquatone makes, in my opinion. This is a PR 101 mixed with a PB 29, Light Fast 5 out of 5, semi-transparent, semi-staining, and granulating. It's absolutely gorgeous. I will lift the paper here in a minute to get the glare off of it so you can see that more accurately, and then you'll see it briefly dry again at the very end of the swatching session here. And there it is lifted. It really doesn't do justice to it in the camera until it's dry, but this is a good one, trust me. This one here is Sepia, PR 101 mixed with PBK7, Light Fast 5 out of 5. You can see it's one of those that's hard to re-wet. It's semi-opaque, semi-staining, and non-granulating. The good news with this one is if you just put water in the pan ahead of time and let it sit for about a minute, then it actually will get nice and dark. So this one is not hopeless when you dry it out in a pan. However, there's several colors. I'll try and list them out on my website, maybe in the Aquatone order section once I get that going, to let you know which ones you should buy already panned, because the already panned colors do not have this rewetting issue that the 3 or 4 colors we have tried in 73 colors. There's only 3 or 4 that aren't rewetting well, and I'll list those out for you. But sepia is one of them. There's another one in this video today, raw umber, and the brown oxide, and there's one more in a previous video. So check out my Aquatone playlist. I'll link that in the corner for you. This one here is burnt umber, PBR 7, light fast 5 out of 5, semi-transparent, semi-staining, and granulating. Now I think, in my opinion, except for the shadow brown and one other color, I can't quite remember which one, their browns are a little weak unless you let water sit on them for a bit. So they don't have trouble rewetting necessarily, except for the ones I mentioned, the 2 that I mentioned, but they really need to be woken up. This one here is another one, raw umber, PBR 7, light fast 5 out of 5, semi-transparent, semi-staining, and granulating. You can see here how weak that is right off the start. And one of the reasons I show you rewetting from the pan and I don't pre-wet them ahead of time when I'm doing this swatching for the database is so that we have the knowledge if they rewet okay or not, or if they need woken up. So I often will spray my Winsor & Newton paints before I use them. Actually, not often, I always spray my Winsor & Newton professional paints before painting with them so that they wake up. And that's okay. You can do that. I need to do the same thing with Daniel Smith's French Ultramarine. It is grumpy about waking up. Now we have burnt sienna, a PBR 7, light fast 5 out of 5, semi-transparent, staining, and non-granulating. This is a very red leaning burnt sienna. It actually reminds me of Winsor & Newton's, which is also very red leaning, and why a lot of people prefer using Winsor & Newton's burnt sienna over some other brands. So when I do some color comparisons in the future, I will definitely be hitting those 2 as a comparison. And the last one for this video, which I was worried wouldn't re-wet because it dried kind of like the ones that have trouble re-wetting did, is Venetian Red. This is a PR 101, light fast 5 out of 5, opaque, semi-staining, and non-granulating. And you can see the first time I tried to wake it up, it was very weak. But as the water just sat on it for even just those brief moments while I painted that first swatch, already I have a much stronger value there. So it just needs woken up like some of the others, and that's never a bad idea to spray your watercolors anyway, especially if you're painting big. You need your colors woken up anyway in order to get enough pigment out to do your paintings. So just spray your watercolors when you can, when it's appropriate. Here they are, all dry. I didn't take them off and label them yet because this is a block of paper, and I want to go ahead and paint other swatches on this block before I remove it. What I want to do now, however, is set this palette up. So let me zoom you out, kind of show you what I'm talking about here. Sorry about the glare. All of that, all of these all of these little palettes I had set aside for this project need to be reincorporated back into the main deal here, right? So blues, yellows, purples, reds, and I took all of the non-duplicates out of this palette, and I want to put this palette back together also because I used this palette for a lot of paintings last semester or the semester before, and I really liked the color selection that they already curated for this palette. So putting this back together would be definitely on the high list here. And then putting all the rest of the paints in this Derwent watercolor tin, and then I have vinyl I'll put over this. So step one is to put little magnets on the bottom of all of the pans that are going in this big palette here. And that way they won't move around so much, because obviously without the magnets they're just going to slide around, but the one with the magnet stays put. I'll do that off camera and I'll tell you what step 2 is. So I left some of this in here just so you could see what I was doing, but I obviously sped it up, as you can see. I'm just putting the full pan set back together. I'm glad I had the swatch sheet. Obviously, if I didn't have that, I would just be choosing my own random colors. But as I mentioned earlier in the video, the color selection they had in there was really good, and I wanted to keep it intact. The one I'm not sure I'm going to use, and I might switch out, and I debated, is the phthalo green. But I went ahead and left it in there. If I don't use the phthalo green, I'll switch it out with something else in the future, because I have all of these colors to choose from. Quite the selection. So I had magnet tape that has sticky on one end, but I got this magnet tape from my grandma's house, which was my great-grandma's house. It belonged to one of those two ladies, and because it's so old, the sticky on the back is gone, so I had to use my own sticky tape, double-sided sticky tape. But here are all of the swatches of all 73 colors, all laid out together. Aren't they gorgeous? This is the order I decided to put them in the large palette. And I put space for every single color in the large palette, all 73 of them, even though 28 of them I believe are in the full pan set, because if I switch colors out, I wanted to have a space in the large palette to put the switched out color back in. Plus I have them all in tubes and I can refill all of these colors. And the cat is helping, and I decided the safest thing to do was not try and lift her off of those swatches, because then they would for sure get out of order. Instead, I just let her walk off them on her own, and that was much better. The swatches all stayed in place much better. So once I got all the sticky and the magnets on, you can see I put them on their swatches so that I could very easily then put them into the large palette. Isn't this beautiful? This is such a pretty scene. It makes me so happy. I hope it makes you happy too. And there's the full pan set all back together. The next step, obviously, is to magnetize them all into the tin and hope the magnets stay. That's the scary part, but I am going to store these flat, I've decided, because I don't want to take any chances of losing the order, although there's a swatch sheet showing the order and every pan is labeled. So that's a bonus. I won't have to worry too much about that. And if I lift this palette up and tilt it this way and that way, and even upside down, although some of the pans fell out, the buff titanium brown oxide, or I don't remember, a few of them fell out because they're dry, it will stay put. So unless I drop it, they're going to stay put. So then I had to swatch all 73 colors yet again, because I wanted a full comprehensive swatch sheet that fits inside this tin. So if I wanted to pull out this tin and paint with it, I knew exactly what the colors would look like on paper. And once again, I am using the Meeden paper. I have decided if I have Meeden paper around, I will use it for swatching and save my arches, which I had been using to swatch most of these on before for my better projects, because I like the arches better, but the Meeden still shows the swatches accurately and beautifully in my opinion. And I will be chatting with you about the differences between swatches on two different kinds of paper, and I'm going to be showing you some examples of why it's important to swatch on the paper you're going to paint on, at least most of the time. If you're a pretty laid back painter, it probably won't matter at all, but if you're very serious and very detailed, then you'll want to see that for sure. I will leave the rest of this swatching on your own, and I'll be back with you shortly. And after that, I cut it out, labeled them all. I wanted to have the pigment information on the swatch sheet. I tend to want to know that information when I'm painting, so it's on there. And some of them are done with white gel pen, obviously the dark colors, so you can read them. And I have space for 2 more. I don't need 2 more, nor do I want 2 more, although I don't even know if they have 2 more colors because at the time I bought all that they had. Now I just have to laminate it. Before we finish up making this palette unique, I wanted to show you some differences in these swatches here. It's very interesting. I thought you would find it interesting as well. So these are ones I ended up having duplicates of because they were in more than one video, and I didn't catch that some were and weren't swatched before I did them, and it was fine for the video too. But they're on different paper, and that's what I want to show you. I usually swatch these on Arches cold pressed 140 pound paper, but I had Fabriano paper, and so that's what a lot of this ended up being, is Fabriano. And then some of it, like the ones I actually finished with, were on the Meeden cotton paper. And you may not be able to see it from the distance the camera's at right now, but there's quite a bit of a difference. I need to find that one. And I think you can really see, even from the distance you're at, the one I just put out. But let's start on this side. This is the green gray, and the one I decided to keep for the database is the one on the right, which is on the Meeden cotton paper. The one on the left is on Fabriano cold pressed 140 pound paper. It's 100% cotton as well, but it just soaks in the paint more and doesn't really show the granulation, even though this one is not supposed to have granulation. It's more paper texture kind of thing. I don't know. It has PG-17 in it, so in my opinion, it does granulate a little, but they are considering it non-granulating. But whatever. If you saw it on this swatch, you would say, yeah, okay, that's not granulating. But if you see it on this one, you're like, oh, that's definitely granulating. So paper makes a huge difference. These almost look like 2 different colors. It's pretty interesting. Cosmic Pink, again, this is the Fabriano paper and this is the Meeden, and they both show granulation this time at least, but the only reason I chose the one on the right this time was because this one got that flaw on the top corner, so I kept it. But I do believe that this one here looks more pink, so it just kind of shows a better vibrancy of the color in my opinion, and so I kept this swatch. For the Manganese Violet, same papers on each side, Fabriano, Meeden. I either got a deeper bit of the pigment put down on this, or again, it just soaked into the paper a little bit more, and so it's less vibrant. But this one just had a water bloom on it because the way the paper warped, it pulled up there and I didn't catch it in time, so I decided to keep this one. But again, this one also looks a little bit brighter, which I like. Now this is one of the most significant colors in my opinion, the big difference in Fabriano paper versus the Meeden cotton paper. And I don't even like the Meeden paper for like painting, serious paintings, but for these swatches, it works beautiful. It's great for basically wet paint on dry paper, but when you're trying to do wet and wet, it's pretty difficult to work with. It's harder to layer it. Anyway, beside the point, there's a huge difference in vibrancy between this one and this one. So again, in my opinion, the Fabriano just kind of soaks up the paint and doesn't show it to its full potential. I have a piece of Fabriano paper stretched on a huge board right now that I'm going to paint with this next week. So we'll see if it looks good on a big painting or not. I just won't have anything really to compare it to except my own painting experience. But I definitely prefer this one on the right to have in the database, because when I used this paint and did a couple of paintings with it, this is what I saw. I did not see this grayed down version, so I like this one. And here's the difference with the French Ultramarine. So I would say use the Fabriano paper if you prefer more muted things, things that don't show the texture, granulation, or vibrancy as much. At least the Fabriano paper I have, which is the traditional white. It might be completely different on the extra white. Traditional white is a little bit creamier. So here's the ultramarine turquoise. Now this one was actually a hard one to decide which one to keep, and I kept the one on the right. Even though I actually liked the one on the Fabriano paper better, I just felt like when I was using it in more places, this was more a true representation of what that color is straight out of the pan. And I don't know, this one got dark and beautiful, but it didn't feel like that's what I would get every time I dip into that pan. So that was kind of a hard one, but this is one case where, in my opinion, it looks nicer on the Fabriano. And last but not least is this beautiful midnight blue. And the blue is definitely coming out more on the Fabriano paper than it does on the Meeden. But this I used in an entire painting. I think I used only this color for the whole painting. And this is what it looked like. It didn't look so light blue like this. Let me grab that painting for you. So here is the painting. And we have light blues, but in the painting, they're grayer. They're a gray blue, let me put it that way. So this showing up so blue, I didn't feel was what I would get when I painted with it, unless of course I was using Fabriano paper, which I have some of. But the paper I tend to use, I get this color more. And you can see, probably, I hope you can see, that this one is a better match. So that's why I kept it. So yes, when people out there, all of us on YouTube are telling you swatch on the paper you paint on, this is why. Okay, on to the next part of the project, making the tin look not like a Derwent 36 watercolor pencil set. I have this vinyl that I used in my camp trailer to cover the dark gray cabinets, and I made them this beautiful bright blue. Really brightened up the camper. Anyway, I have some of that vinyl left. So I took some alcohol and cleaned the top of the tin really well, as well as my desk, although it didn't clean my desk as well as I'd hoped, and pulled off the vinyl. That was actually harder to do. I should have asked my husband for help before he left, because it's easier to do this with two people. Tori came over and helped me do my entire camper, so it's so much easier if you have two people that can hold each edge. The tin also bows in the middle because it's soft tin. So my little scoochy tool there didn't work very well because as I put pressure on the tin lid, it bowed in the middle. So I was just taking my time working out the bubbles. This vinyl is also a bit self-healing, so those bubbles will eventually work themselves out given enough time. I don't know if self-healing is quite the right word. It's breathable, maybe, would be a better way to put it. I don't know that much about vinyl, but this is very high quality vinyl, supposedly. You can see in this video, though, I could still see the lettering from the tin through the vinyl. So I put another layer on it, and that helped a lot. And instead of wrapping the second layer around the edges, I went ahead and just put it over the top and cut near the top of the tin, so it's not a double wrap over the edges. And there, you can no longer see through it, and it looks pretty okay. I like it. And oh my goodness, the next part, as if all of this hasn't taken long enough already, the next part took forever. It felt like forever. But the way I store these in my swatch little box there is in little card holders. These are business card holders, if I'm remembering correctly. And then I match them by hue, not by pigment. So you can see I'm just flipping through each of these cards, trying to put it in a place to see if it looks good on the left side of the swatch or the right side of the swatch. And I've been trying to swatch all these the same, but the Aquatone definitely came through a bit stronger. So that's kind of interesting. It makes me wonder if I swatched differently. I obviously used more pigment, possibly, or these are stronger watercolors than I realized. I'm not really sure, but it's okay because you can see the mass tone and compare the hue just fine, even though they are a little different. So I'll do that with all 73 cards. Yes, I'm crying. Okay, no, I'm not. I'm laugh crying. But when it's done, it's very rewarding. So I'm not going to show you that whole process. I just show you one more color here besides the pinks, and I just do the best I can in their placement. It may not be perfect. I might change it up later when I'm going to add another color in there. I may create a different category completely at the end for some of these colors. Like there were 4 of them, the more opaque ones, like the green gray, for example, the foliage green, a couple others, the cool gray, that did not really go anywhere in the colors that I had in here already. And so I created a new category for like more muted, opaque type of colors. Look at all of those beautiful yellow oranges, by the way. Aren't those gorgeous? They're so pretty. I don't think I need any more of those for a while. And that's another big reason why I'm doing all this work and putting these in the card files and in the database, is when I run out of a color in a certain brand, I'm just going to use the same color from another brand and see how I like it. And if I don't like it, then I know I can get rid of that particular one and replace it again with the one I had before, or go on to yet a different brand and try that one too. So this process just repeats over and over. Look at all those beautiful lemon yellows as well. I use lemon yellow so much. If any of the colors are going to run out on me, it's probably going to be a lemon yellow, but we'll see. I also use indigo and Payne's Gray, neutral tint, those kind of darks all the time too. So it'll be fun to see as time goes on which colors I run out of first. At least in a particular brand. I obviously probably will never run out of lemon yellow in my lifetime. It's especially since I have some in tubes. It's hard to say, but it'll be fun to find out, won't it? I think it will. All right, so once all of that is done, then I go to the computer. This is where I had been keeping track of Aquatone and the videos and their pigment information and transparency, light fastness, all of that. And I am updating that with the ones I did not have in here, so I actually complete this chart entirely. Once this chart is complete, then I'll paste it into my actual pigment database, because this whole spreadsheet here is just for Aquatone. So you can see me copying, pasting into the actual pigment database here, and they have tabs based on the brand, and the tabs are in alphabetical order. So once I get it pasted in here, I put the brand name in the front, drag that down so it populates all 73 colors, and then I leave the top one for the top row for the descriptions. So brand name, color name, pigment information, the information you can see in the Daniel Smith tab here in the first row. So I get that over into the Aquatone tab, and then later I went in and gave myself some notes on whether I have this in tube or pan form or both, which is super nice. I also have a section if it's in a fixed palette, not any kind of tube or pan. So it's good information to have when I need to switch out colors if I ever do that. They're all put in their card files now, and that is done. And the last thing I need to do, I think I will cut this off of the box here, the logo that is. Try and get it somewhat straight, which I'm not really great at, so that might not work, but I can try. Yeah, that's very much not straight. That's okay. And tape that in the corner. Oh no, my tape is empty. Darn it all. I have to go clear upstairs to get this, but we have tape again. And I will just put a piece of tape over that. I just have to decide where I want it. Kind of like it in the middle. I'm just gonna have to guess where the middle is though, and know that it's going to not be exactly right, and it's not cut straight, just like I knew it wouldn't, but that's okay. And so after I do that, then I would have had to have swatched all these for light fast testing in the window, and I'll put these up on a board. I have new plans for light fast testing, but anyway, I did swatch all 73 colors for light fast testing, and that's what's here. I think that completely finishes Aquatone. The last thing to do is put these away. These will be the first completely complete palettes from my watercolor collection, going from getting all the colors in a palette to getting them in the database to getting them in the window for light fast testing and in the drawer as 100% complete. That feels so good. I am going to wait to put these in the window. Well, these go in the drawer. These I'll wait to put in the window until I get enough to fill the board completely, which means I need to get busy with some of those other watercolors because I want to be able to pull many out of the window at once. I want to pull the whole board out basically, because taking these off the window individually like I have been doing is not really sustainable. It's not enjoyable at all, so we're doing it one huge board at a time. So I will put these in the drawer for now, safe away, until I get enough to fill the board. But that finishes up Aquatone entirely and completely. What do you guys think? I am so excited to have one off that table. I'll show you the table. It's still really full. So here's the table. It's still completely full, obviously, because I didn't even have Aquatone on this table. Oh dear. Thankfully, some of these brands are almost done anyway, so some will be quick. But there's some that I'm more excited to get to than others, and those are the ones that I'll be starting with. I did make tiny little sample pans here that will go in tiny little sample palettes that will be available for these Aquatone watercolors on my website soon. I will tell you in a video as soon as they're up. But I'm going to leave this on my desk right here under my monitor to remind me to get these up in my shop online, so that if you want to try Aquatone, it's fairly risk-free. They're very nice small pans. You can choose your selection of 6 colors, or you can choose more than 6 if you'd like. Only 6 fit in the palette, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. So keep an eye out on my channel, watch my videos, and I'll tell you when these are available. And that is Aquatone in not quite a nutshell, because that took a long time, but I appreciate you being here with me, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now. That was loud. Jeez Louise.